What is happening, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty Podcast, and Happy New Year as we start 2025 with a little Dynasty talk. It is Dynasty season, and back with me after the Christmas holiday off, he is in fact my co-host. He is the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Buddy, how was your holiday season to date?
No, it was fine. I work at an entertainment complex, so yesterday was a bit of a shit show. Only had to clean up a little bit of vomit. Somebody had a little bit too much fun. Other than that, it ran pretty smoothly. I am excited. Got to watch a little bit of college football today. Last I saw, Ohio State was trucking Oregon. How the hell have you been?
I'm good. Did a solo show last week. Didn't want you to have to record on Christmas Eve. I couldn't really record on Christmas Eve. And let's be honest, nobody really wanted to watch the show on Christmas Eve. But we're moving back. Not next week, but the week after. Our first Sunday being back on Sundays. And I'm looking forward to this because, A, it means we're going into rookie content season, which is the best. We all know that. It's Dynasty season. We love that. And we're no longer capped by the amount of time that we have for the show. Now, we're very blessed to be part of the PlayerProfiler network. We're streaming live on the PlayerProfiler YouTube channel, but that comes at a cost. There's a show before us. It's usually Dear Ms. Fantasy with Tara, and then after us is Man versus Machine. So we're locked. We're locked into that hour time slot, Jerry, but the chains are coming off. And do you know why that we're not doing this coming Sunday? Do you know why?
Because of Sunday Night Football, and I would kill you and bury you in a ditch somewhere.
You would kill me until I die from it. But no, for me, it's going to be – no, we'll get to that game because, guys, we will give you some of the things that we learned this year. But, yeah, this game's tough for me. So I'm a Colts fan. I don't want to say long-suffering Colts fan, because we had a good run there with a guy named Peyton Manning and then a short good run there with a guy named Andrew Luck. But been lean times the last several years here in Indy. So because of you and so many guys in our patron league like Diddy and Chris and Randy and everybody, there's a lot of Lions fans. So you remember, I'm not a bandwagon fan. I said coming into the season that Jahmyr Gibbs was my dynasty running back one. And I made the Lions my adopted non-Colts team for the season. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And who do I consider practically a blood relative in the football world?
One Samuel Darnold.
So I can't not watch my adopted team, the Fighting Dan Campbells, and a guy that I was wrong on. I'm glad to see him bouncing back and having a great season, Sam Darnold. So no, we're not going live this particular Sunday, but the following Sunday, I know there'll probably be a playoff game on. I understand. We may live stream the game. We may watch the game and talk about the game and do something, but Sundays are right back around the corner, Jerry. Are you looking forward to getting out of this weekday spot?
Yeah. It throws me off. It's weird because we did Tuesdays for the longest time when we first started doing this. But then I got so used to Sundays, and it was nice to sort of just have that day be the day. But it's if I had to miss the Vikings and the Lions this week, the single biggest regular season game in NFL history, I would have to drive to Indianapolis, Indiana, fart into your face, and then drive back to Iowa.
Well, I wouldn't do that to you. I want to watch this game as much as anybody. And, there's not a lot of stakes in this week's, games. I like that we still got the two Saturday games. I was kind of, I want to say surprised, but I was a little shocked we got the two NFL Saturday games because typically the NFL likes to put all 16 games on Sunday. That way there's no competitive advantage going into the playoffs. But I'm stoked. Playoff football means dynasty season has started. Like I said, we're going to start talking about a lot more rookies. We appreciate, we set some records with our mock draft a couple of weeks ago. You guys really seem to be digging the rookie talk. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2024 rookie classes here in just a minute. But if you're looking for an edge to be ready for next season, you might want to check out Dynasty Deluxe.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help to strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
It is, in fact, a great deal. And what a time. You get it right now, like January 1st. Well, by the time you hear this, it might be like January 3rd or something. But the first of the year, you'll get it for the entire calendar year. Dynasty Deluxe, you're going to want that going into rookie season. So, Jerry, without you last week, it's hard to do good people, bad tweets unless it's just egregious, unless it's just terrible. It's hard to do it without a co-host, without someone to bounce this tweet off of. And I want to give a shout out right here, and this may offend some people. I want to give a shout out to Fantasy Receipts. Jerry, do you follow Fantasy Receipts?
Yeah, of course I do. That's where all the drama is, buddy.
That is exactly where all the drama is, and they keep the receipts. It's in the handle, Fantasy Receipts. And I was coming back from vacation. So another part of the reason beyond Jerry's work schedule. So don't feel too bad for me because I went on vacation. That's part of the reason why I did the show early. But I was coming back, and you get on a plane and like you're fiddling around, and Fantasy Receipts was just dropping them. And I was like, oh, this is going to be good people, bad
Easy.
tweets. Oh, it's good stuff.
This week's easy. Got it.
And this one right here, I'm bringing up he is a repeat offender, and it's a pretty bad take.
Just
how we like it. But this one right here, this tweet ties into lessons learned. Okay, lessons learned. So I'll get to that in a minute. Let me read the tweet for you, Jer. All right, this is from Dustin Ludke. I'm pretty sure it's Ludke. He's at the Done It 13. And his tweet was, not enough of you were burnt by Kyle Pitts and Dalton Kincaid, and it shows in Brock Bowers' ADP. Swing and a miss, Dustin. I'll tell you, so when you hear that, what do you think about the not learning the lesson from Dalton Kincaid and Kyle Pitts?
The ideology is there. I can understand it. But also, when you're catastrophically wrong, like you are in the case of Brock Bowers, as a person, listen, there's a real chance if we were doing this show 7 months ago, I would have tweeted something similar to what he said. Because you know me, I don't really like tight ends. I usually don't mess with them. So I understand where the premise is. Let's just hope this man didn't double down on it. Let's hope he has learned his lesson. I mean, we're going to talk about one Brian Thomas Jr. We went on a wild path, a wild roller coaster ride with him this offseason. Then we got into the buys and sells or the hypes and the fades, and we decided he was a hype at the very end. And that worked out. So I'm not going to body him because if you fell for Kyle Pitts, you really fell on your face. And if you're assuming that Brock Bowers on Las Vegas was going to not be as dominant as he was, I could understand it.
Yeah, I picked this one because, again, we're doing this as sort of a lessons learned show. And while I was lower than consensus on Brock Bowers, my lesson that you should take away from this as we're learning lessons as 2024 is, yes, part of playing Dynasty is using previous results to predict future results. That's true, but you have to look at every situation individually and independently. And, there's going to be rookies coming up in this most current class, the class of 2025, that we're going to want to hold the sins of the class of 2024, 2023, 2022.
Absolutely.
And while comparison is fun, hey, this guy reminds me of, Randy Moss, or this guy reminds me of Terrell Owens or Marshall Faulk or LaDainian Thomas. That's all great. But the big takeaway from this tweet, and, we'll talk more about this when we get to the rookie section, is, without being too cliche, because I think the Podfather would give me a cliche alert sounder, is, they're like snowflakes. Every individual situation is different. Patrick Mahomes is not Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid. His situation was different. It's just the way that it is. While this is essentially just a swing and a miss, and we all have those, but that's not why I brought Dustin back. The one that he did a while back where he asked the really dumb question to Caleb Williams at the combine.
Oh, that was his.
That was his. Yeah, he deserved the ridicule. He deserved the ridicule on this. He's not going to get any ridicule from me for missing on saying Brock Bowers' ADP was too high. To me, I brought it up as a lesson learned, and I think that's fair, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro was wrong. As long as you can embrace when you're wrong, by all means, but because goddamn, you were wrong. And I was too.
Well, I was low on Brock Bowers, but not like super low.
No, I avoided him a lot more than you did.
Sure. So
you're also a tight end guy, though.
I am.
Every team, you seem like you have a good tight end on it.
Well, I'm not sticking to the show sheet on this one. We're going to call this one in the ring. For me, the reason why I look at tight ends, is because if you hit on a tight end like the way that people hit on Brock Bowers, that's a difference maker. I love Brian Thomas Jr. I didn't last year at the rookie draft time, but I love him now. And I love Malik Neighbors and I love a lot of the guys from 2024. But when you hit on a tight end, you'll get another Brian Thomas this year. You'll get another Malik Neighbors. You'll get these tight ends that land and truly break out the way that Bowers did. That's a unicorn. And if you play in tight end premium, I play in a lot of tight end premium. I know you play in all of our patron leagues, tight end premium. Brock Bowers is the cheat code for the next 10 years. So that's why I tend to steer into tight ends. But I'll be honest, I was a little jaded by Kyle Pitts and Dalton Kincaid. But anyway, that is good people, bad tweets. It wouldn't be good people without and bad tweets without a little Dana White.
I'm going to tell you this. It was a huge fucking clusterfuck. Yeah. Completely fucking irresponsible. A shit show. Dangerous, stupid, irresponsible, and just completely fucking ridiculous.
There's probably a lot of people that woke up this morning thinking about last night and said the same exact thing.
I mean, we've had this conversation with our son. Last night, obviously we're streaming this live on New Year's Day. Our son, senior in high school, he went out over at one of his buddy's house, and I had to break it down for him. I'm like, son, this is amateur night. This is one of the big amateur nights of the year, and I had to explain to him what I meant by amateur night. And the other big ones are Halloween. Halloween's a big amateur night.
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Pat, that was the other one. That was the one, yeah, because I was a bartender. When I was a bartender, that's when I met my wife, and I had to explain to him, it's like, look, Marge in accounting, she doesn't go out drinking very often, but she's over at her friend's house. She's had 3 glasses of Chardonnay. She's behind the wheel of the Honda Odyssey, barreling down the street, and there you are just trying to get home. I was like, you got to be operating with your head on a goddamn swivel. Yeah. Amateur night. Because like I said, Marge doesn't do this every week. Like the professional drunk driver, which shame on them, Ubers are cheap. As you know, it's like they do it every weekend. Marge in accounting, she does this 2-3 times a year, which makes her especially dangerous. So hopefully none of you drove drunk. Hopefully none of you drove under the influence. But yeah,
Hopefully you don't feel like hell today.
I mean, it's like 8 p.m. on a win. I mean, it was 8 p.m.
Listen, I don't know. Listen, I don't drink a lot, but if I did drink, I'd still be hungover.
Yeah,
30s ain't no joke, man.
Yeah, 40s aren't much better. But anyway, let's get into this one. Jerry, what was your biggest takeaway from 2024?
Old guys can produce, I think, was the big one. You know, I think the big thing was when people go to new cities, they go to new teams, they've been productive in the past, they are older, they sort of fall on their faces. But we saw at the tippy top of the running backs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Joe Mixon for a vast majority of the season. Not when you needed him, of course. Not that I'm bitter at all about that. I mean, James Conner didn't go to a new team, still producing great, still has, his contract set in place. I really thought that running back class was going to die on us. Alvin Kamara at the beginning of the season was unbelievable. Randy, when running backs are special, I always try to panic a little bit. I like to go, oh, they're getting up there in age. I want to get the next young guy. And the problem is the next young guy may not be special. They may just be young. And that longevity is equal because there's a lot of these guys that we've taken in the first round of rookie drafts the last year or two, and their career is not going to go as long as Derrick Henry's is, even if Derrick Henry only plays 2 more years. So I think that's something that I'm really going to heavily focus on, is just trying to not hate old guys as much as I have in the past, because I sort of pivoted towards a lot of them. I sort of hoped that people were going to sell off their valuable pieces and I could just sort of hoard them and then just take my shot at the ship. And I had a great year. Like, this was one of my best productivity years as far as dynasty championships, playoffs, semifinals, all of it in a couple of years. And it felt good, especially because last year I was bad in the red for sure. So that's what I would say, is just because it's old doesn't mean it's busted. That's why I keep talking to Randy every week.
Well, I resemble that remark. For me, For me, I'll touch on your thing for a minute. It's like I'm looking at the top of the points. I don't have through week 18. I honestly, people are like, well, there's no championship or fantasy played. It's still points.
It's still them playing.
It impacts the average. So I none of my leagues I'm able to get that. So I'm through 17, but I'm looking at the top 10 running backs coming in, finishing the year. Saquon was number 1. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 2, Bijan Robinson, number 3, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara didn't play the last 2 games, James Cook, Chase Brown. Of those guys, what, 3 of those 10 guys were in the top 5 of consensus dynasty rankings last year? Gibbs and Bijan and Achane. Like, what a steal Josh Jacobs has been for the last, 5 or 6 years? I mean, he's never really been bad. He never gets the love. James Cook. You kidding me? James Cook. Everybody hates James Cook. Everybody's looking to replace James Cook. I don't know I don't know if he banged their girlfriend. I don't know.
I did.
Very well could have. But then you look even behind that, guys like James Conner, Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon, who started off hot, fell off. Aaron Jones, Bucky Irving, like all these people, like Bucky Irving, 1,500.
Bucky Irving was a dog, man. He's going to be good going forward.
And this leads me back to what my big takeaway is. When it comes to startup season this year, at least in Superflex and tight end premium leagues, which we'll do that with our patron leagues, and obviously any leagues I'm in are typically that format, is I will not be drafting a running back not named Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 3 rounds of a startup. It's just not worth it. I mean, you're going to be able to get Jonathan Taylor cheap. I think he showed it really well the last few games. Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams is perennially disrespected. And then you go the opposite side of the coin. You get all these guys that came out of nowhere. Like there were some people on Chase Brown in
Yeah.
year 2, but it took Zach Moss getting hurt for him to really take that role. And Bucky Irving, I mean, you liked Bucky Irving, but my point is that between the old guys, Tyron Tracy, another guy, kind of popped. He wasn't highly touted in rookie rankings. It's like, and then you switch over, and I'm going to switch over to wide receivers, and it's like you draft high wide receivers, it's a guaranteed ROI. Number 1, Jamar Chase. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. Number 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 5, CeeDee Lamb. Okay.
Where were they in the preseason?
1, 2,
all in
3,
the top
4.
5. Yeah.
So I guess technically CeeDee Lamb, and in fairness to him, he didn't play in week 17 because he was injured. So, I mean, what do you want the guy to do? I mean, solid. And then, behind that, Malik Neighbors, highly drafted. Jackson Smith and Jigba. That was going to be one of my big veteran misses. Garrett Wilson. A lot of people didn't like Garrett Wilson. Drake London's, Puka. Puka definitely would have been in this mix had he been healthy the entire season. He had the injury in his knee. If I'm doing a startup, and we'll be doing startups very soon, I'm first 3 rounds is going to be some combination of quarterback, wide receiver, or wide receiver, quarterback in a superflex tight end premium style format. And I could even make a case to where even in a 1 QB league, I may not go running back in the first 3 rounds if it's not Jahmyr Gibbs. Jerry, what do you think about that as a takeaway?
I think it's fine, if you want me to be honest with you. Because a lot of those guys that you mentioned, right? Because who's going to go in the first 3 rounds that's going to return that equal value? It's really just like Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson. Like, do you have confidence in Breece Hall? He's going to go in that range. Do you have confidence he's going to return what a wide receiver in that range is going to? I don't.
I would have to pull up Player Profiler, and this is why you get the Dynasty Deluxe, because you can see the rankings. You can stack rank them by position group, or you can just do like, first you got to set your format, so Superflex, tight end, premium, 1 QB, whatever, and then it'll stack rank them like 1 through 500 or whatever the number is. And when you start looking at guys in like those tiers, like guys in picks 20 through 25, I bet you the wide receivers are going to be the lean in that particular ranking.
100%.
All right.
But,
we're go ahead.
I was just going to say, because think about all the productive running backs that we just talked about. Every one of them's an old guy. And in a startup, people are not going to take an old running back in the first 3 rounds. So that means all of them are going to drop, and they're going to be there available to you while you're stacking up Justin Jefferson and whoever the hell else, Brian Thomas Jr. in the second.
I'm going to make a case, and again, this show has no format. It has 60 minutes, and we'll go in whatever direction the wind takes this bad boy. But I'm looking at the quarterback top 12, and if we're doing that same Superflex tight end premium startup, I might go wide receiver, quarterback, because unless you get, and I'm just going to read the quarterback top finishers. You had Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray. Those are your top 12. And what I hear in there is I hear 3 or 4 really big names.
And 3 or 4 that'll be there in the 3rd or the 4th.
But like, a guy like Baker Mayfield.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't super high on Baker Mayfield, after year 1, year 2 in Cleveland, but man, that dude slings it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason, I'll just tie this, because go ahead and roll this right into the next thing, is like the biggest success that you had tied to a veteran. For me, it's always having a bunch of Sam Darnold. A lot of the league success that I had this year and able to overcome quarterback injuries and everything else was Sam Darnold. And tied back to that coaching staff, it tied back to, that. But like, if he gets the Baker Mayfield deal, 3 for $100 million, 3 years for $100 million, if he beats the Lions this week and they get the number 1 seed, how do you let that dude walk out of town?
I don't think they should to begin with, Randy.
I don't think so either.
I think it's catastrophically stupid to have what you have in place, because they can well, it's a rebuild year, or whatever the fuck Viking fans say. But I mean, this is the best Viking season since. I mean, Gary Anderson missed
Culpepper.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Gary Anderson missing that field goal.
Okay,
I mean, that was 20 years ago, maybe more.
Randy Moss was in his prime. He was still a prime Viking.
That's what I'm saying. And you're gonna get rid of the quarterback that did that, and go with a rookie who's been injured and was in a run-heavy offense in college for the majority of his career. That just seems like a catastrophically dipshittery of a move.
And let's be honest, it's not like people were fighting them to trade up in front of them to get J.J. McCarthy.
No, and not to say JJ's bad. Like, JJ's probably fine.
He's a project.
Also, exactly, JJ McCarthy could be identical to Sam Darnold. It took Sam Darnold fucking 6 years to get to where he's at. Sometimes it takes people time. I mean, look at the league. It took Geno till he was 29. It took Sam Darnold till now. It took Baker Mayfield a couple years. That's why I'm not giving up on Anthony Richardson yet either, honestly. I mean, I know he's also your guy, but he's like 21 years old or 22 or whatever he is. I will absolutely acquire him in the offseason. I know it's been bad. It was bad with Sam Darnold. It was bad with Baker Mayfield. It's been bad with lots of guys. So I'll pocket him. I'll hold him for a little bit. I know that was a little sidebar, but just throwing it in there.
No, you're good. I mean, how do you, with a game to play, by the way, how do you let 68% completions, 4,153 yards, and I'm sorry, it's your Lions, but their defense right now is so banged up and bad. He's probably going to hang another 350 on him. So we'll just call it 4,500 passing yards and 38 touchdowns. He's currently got 35. If he gets 3 more, 30. How do you let that walk out the door for a guy who never threw more than like 325 times in a college season? Sam Darnold has 343 completions. Forget attempts in a season. Completions. You don't let that dude walk out the door.
He's at worst this season, 14-3.
And do you know how old he is?
28.
He's 27. He will not turn 20. I think he's younger than Joe Burrow. I'm going to look that up. But what was your biggest success this year tied to a veteran?
Derrick Henry. I mean, not that was like some giant stretch or anything, but that was the guy I had for the Player Profiles draft kit. I know some people were fading him just because it was a new zone or a new place and Lamar Jackson runs, but Derrick Henry's just a dog. He's an absolute different human being. He's not like any other athletic specimen that plays that game. That was my guy. Thank you, buddy. Pretty much, I think 3 out of the 4 championships I had, he was a focal point. Bless his sweetheart. I hope he is eating the finest meals and drinking the finest wine and doing whatever he pleases today.
Drinking the finest of champagne, a little champagne. Is he entitled to some champagne there, Jerry?
Oh, he can get whatever he wants.
I got to be honest. I didn't think he would, and it's kind of the same thing with Saquon Barkley. Is the Podfather calls it the Alfred Morris corollary. Like, there was the year where Alfred Morris, famous running back for the then Washington Redskins, he got a young mobile quarterback named Robert Griffin III, RG3, and had like a monster season. I didn't see it. And I was largely correct with Jalen Hurts being a touchdown vulture to Saquon Barkley, but he had plenty of long breakaways, all those yards. This is, again, it ties back to the way we started this segment. It ties back to having a good running game and old guys still rule. I like that. Old guys still rule. Now, Jerry, if we had success, ironically, both in purple, we had to have had a miss. Who was the biggest miss of your 2024 season? Veteran. We're going to go rookies in a minute, but veteran.
Yep. There's a man that it was the first time I was intrigued. I looked on the shelf and I saw a book entitled Kyle Pitts. And for the first time in my life, I picked that book up off the shelf. I opened it and I started to read. And Randy, it did to me what it has done to every human that has ever opened that book in the history of time. Nothing. The pages were blank, and they left you nothing but disappointment. And you told me, I see the little shit-eating grin that you have on your face. You told me. And the first couple of weeks I thought, I'm going to tell Randy that he's an idiot because Kyle Pitts was competent. And then we got down to the stretch, and it was not even worth having Kyle Pitts on your roster. He didn't get targeted. He didn't do shit. Randy, my veteran miss. And I deserved it because everybody's told me. And I was the one telling people for years, don't fall for that bull crap. Randy, I fell for that bull crap.
I think the best thing that people can understand is this is why you don't marry prospects. He was really good in college, but I mean, like, I didn't fall for the Kyle Pitts train because it's like everybody fell for this. They're like, they're going to use him more as a receiver. And then you do you peel that, and it's great. It's a great headline. It looks good as like a Twitter soundbite, because by the way, shout out to Nick and Alex and all the guys, Jason, who do all of the stuff, like all those things you see, those little YouTube snippets of Jerry and I chatting. It's because of the work of those guys. So some of these things sound great. Oh, they're going to use Kyle Pitts more as a wide receiver. They always have. And opposing defensive coordinators know that. And that's why they just put a corner on him and he can never get separation. And bada bing, bada boom, never produces. I'm going to tie mine back to a guy named Joe Burr. But before I do, I'm going to read you every quarterback currently between the ages of 26 and 28. Okay.
Okay.
26-year-olds would include Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. 27-year-olds, Joe Burr, Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson. 28-year-olds, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, youch. What a fall. Josh Allen. And then at 29, you have Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. So I bring all that up to illustrate. It's like, how on earth could you let a 27-year-old right in the middle of that grouping and Sam Darnold leave? I just wanted to bring that up. For me, my veteran miss was Joe Burrow. I had concerns about the wrist injury. It was unique for a quarterback. They didn't know what impact it was going to have. And Jerry, what Joe Burrow do this year?
Went absolutely bananas.
What'd you say in our patron group chat the other day? He went out, you were referring to Sam Darnold, but you were like, he went out and dropped his nuts on their head.
Yeah.
Dude, Joe Burrow. Now this comes at a caveat, and I'll get to that. But currently, he is 606 attempts, most in the NFL, 423 completions, most in the NFL, 4,641 yards, most in the NFL, 42 passing touchdowns, most in the NFL. I saw that Fantasy Receipts was roasting Josh Larkey for having a similar seasonal take, but it's like, how could you go overboard on Joe Burrow, knowing that he had the wrist injury, knowing the offensive line was bad? And to his credit, he just come out and crushed it, Jerry. I was wrong. I'm glad I'm wrong because the league needs more great quarterbacks. But Joe Burrow has put up, I'll just ask you this currently, and this is through week 17. I mean, Joe Burrow having a great year, right? Would you agree?
I would agree.
Okay. And I bet you after this past week's game, because again, this is only through week 17, I bet you him and Baker Mayfield are neck and neck. Because through week 17, there was 16 points separating them. But Baker had like 5 passing touchdowns, and I know Joe had 3 or whatever, and the rushing. So pretty close. But that's what those guys have to do to score at the level of the Jaden Daniels, the Josh Allens. So when he doesn't have that rushing floor to insulate him, the way like a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts does, you had to be a little trepidatious at least. I'm not trying to justify it after the fact, but Joe Burrow's that dude.
Also, having T. Higgins really just absolutely explode down the stretch.
I don't think it matters with T. Higgins. I
No,
really don't.
I know, but I'm saying like you can't be as explosive and as dominant and as productive as Joe Burrow has been with only Jamar Chase. He needed somebody else to also just be a great talent. And I have shit on T. Higgins for a long time on this podcast. And he's been injured a whole bunch the last couple of years, and he's been unproductive in other years. But this dude scoring 10 touchdowns in 11 games and having 800 yards and missing a big chunk of the season. I mean, dude's been good. And dude helped. Jamar Chase also just absolutely awesome. And and a big product of that is Joe Burrow dropping his nuts on him.
Well, we're going to find out in this coming off season how good T. Higgins really is.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about other lessons here in a minute, but we're going to see what happens when he has to become Batman, when he has to go to New England and be the wide receiver one. Can he be that dude when Jamar Chase is not drawing all the coverage that Jamar Chase draws? Can he be that dude when Drake May, we love Drake May, my son Vinny got a Drake May jersey for Christmas. For whatever reason, Mr. May, very popular with the younger demographic. But Jerry, do you know who else is that dude?
Who else is that dude?
The Podfather.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The Breakout Finder features 3 key tools: a database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also Breakout Finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall Breakout Finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. Everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back, sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on player X, I pull out the Breakout Finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the Breakout Finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
There you go. Our buddy, the Podfather, he is that dude. And the reason why I chose the Breakout Finder for our second commercial is simply because very useful with rookie season. You know, rookie seasons, you get a look to see how they're, ranked with their college teammates. Definitely worth a look. So, Jerry, what was your biggest rookie takeaway? So we talked about some veterans, some misses, but what was your biggest rookie takeaway this past season?
We mentioned him a little bit earlier. I was not in love with him from the get-go. I kept calling him DJ Chark. He was from LSU. He was fast. He was big. He ran a really fast 40. But Brian Thomas Jr., as we kept going, taking the offseason along, we both got on board. And I'm not going to say it's my best rookie takeaway because I didn't have many rookie takeaways from this class. I have one very bad one that we're going to get to. But mostly I was sort of down on this class. And I don't necessarily think that was the wrong take. But Brian Thomas Jr., man. I mean, dude's awesome. I think he's the top 5 or 6 wide receiver in this league. I'll take him over all the other young guys for the most part. I'll take him over Neighbors. I'll take him over Harrison. I'll take him over, whoever. Garrett Wilson, the Chris Olaves. Who else are we talking? Maybe not Puka. That's probably close, but still got to go Puka. AJ Brown or Brian Thomas Jr., Andy? AJ
Brown or that one for me, I'm not trying to weasel my way out of it, but that one would come down to my roster. Like if next year was like, say, the last year of like my contending window, then it would be AJ Brown. But because I love Trevor Lawrence, beautiful hair. He was the guy, but I believe more in the offense in Philadelphia. So Jalen Hurts, outside of the concussion, pretty durable. But if I were doing a
But
startup,
the fact that we're having this conversation and that you have to bring it up should show the talent of them. But anyway, startup,
no,
you're going BTJ.
Absolutely. And it's here's the thing. We're almost to AJ Brown value season. I don't want to make this an AJ Brown take, but
I think that's fair.
I think AJ, we're going to start looking at like AJ Brown the way that like 3 years ago we looked at Mike Evans, and Mike Evans just continues to crush people. I mean, misses like 4 games with a hamstring. Nico come back from a very similar hamstring injury, never looked the same.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Evans at like 30 something comes back and is killing it, that being that dude again. I mean, like Mike Evans is like the guy that you can always count on. So I think AJ Brown's, heading into his Mike Evans era, because he's been there for so long and been so consistent. I think he's getting ready to be a value. But yeah, that's going to take me to my big takeaway is be careful with these rookies. And I don't want to go back to how right I was, but this is the reason why I was very trepidatious on CJ Stroud. It's great. It's great. We got a 1 year sample. And it's not been good in Houston. And this is why, because Jerry, just rest assured that going into this offseason, there's going to be dynasty services. Just mark my words. That's going to have Jaden Daniels QB2.
100%.
Jaden Daniels QB2. Did you hear the ages of the guys that I just mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Josh Allen's slowing down anytime soon?
No.
Do you think Lamar Jackson's slowing down anytime soon?
No, sir.
Jalen Hurts?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So as much as it's good to be excited about rookies, we got to keep our head on straight. We got to use our thinking cap. Like I'm wearing a Titleist golf hat. You're wearing a Detroit, Tigers baseball cap, but when it comes to these rookies, you want to use your thinking cap and not get over your skis. It's like, I'm fine if you want to put Brock Bowers as your tight end 1. You'll probably look back in a year and regret that. And that's not to say that Brock Bowers is going to fall off, but man, that's a dangerous job. I mean, your boy Sam Laporta, tight end 1 coming in the season.
100%.
Trey McBride, he's continued to rock it. But just with these rookies, like I said, it's great. There's going to be people, and just mark my words, write this down. There are going to be people who are going to be like Malik Neighbors, wide receiver 1 in Dynasty.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's like Jamar Chase is 24. Justin Jefferson's 24. CeeDee Lamb's like 23 or 24. They're not slowing down anytime soon. And you know what? I like Dak and Joe Burr and Sam Darnold a lot better than I like what the New York Giants quarterback is going to be. I like the offensive schemes. So it's great to be excited by Malik Neighbors. It's great to be excited by a Brian Thomas Jr. But don't get over your skis and just instantly spring these guys to the top of your dynasty rankings. But that'll be a different conversation when we get into startup conversations here in a little bit. My biggest miss with the rookie season was Jaden Daniels. So this all ties back together. It's like, I didn't see it. He's like 37 years old. He was one of those COVID kids. And I didn't see it. People talked about the Cliff Kingsbury fade, midway through the season. And there was a little swoon. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Cliff caught a lot of bullshit. It's Kyler Murray's the one who fades.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it was Cliff Kingsbury. It seems like it was Kyler. I mean, there's this running joke out there that, starting in November when the new Call of Duty comes out, Kyler falls off. Not so sure that's a joke. So maybe we unfairly pinned a lot of that on Cliff Kingsbury, but again, 1 season sample. But yeah, man, I knew he could run, but I thought he was so slight, and I thought he was kind of carried at LSU by Malik Neighbors, by Brian Thomas Jr. Guy's been a stud. And hopefully this year I will do some player rankings over at PlayerProfiler. And when I start ranking the quarterbacks, I'm thinking like top 5, and I think that's fair. He'll be my highest rated year 2 quarterback. might be my highest rated quarterback of the last 3 or 4 drafts, to be honest. Going back to the Josh Allen, no, going back to the Joe Burrow draft. Was that 2020? But anyway, that was my big takeaway. It was my missing on Jaden Daniels, Jerry.
I mean, that's a big one. I mean, I didn't love him either. Mine was probably Ladd McConkey. You know, I just going to a run-heavy offense as a rookie wasn't the most productive at his time at Georgia. I just wasn't in on it. And I think I have one share, and I am pretty salty about it because that dude can separate. He's good. Justin Herbert loves him. Quentin Johnston is absolutely non-existent, nor should he ever be existent ever in the history of time, ever again. Ladd McConkey, man.
This one's not this one's not a rookie take, but I'm putting it on there because I like it because I've been burned like
Me
playing
too.
with fire. Nick Take Jake says we learned to never draft Jalen Waddle again.
Preach,
Jake,
brother.
Say it louder for the people in the back. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ladd McConkey. I was like neutral. I would say if anything is related to Ladd McConkey, I was neutral on him because I got it. There's no one else there. You know, it was either had to have been him, Josh Palmer. I'll tell you, I didn't mind what I saw out of Quentin Johnston.
No, I mean, he could catch touchdowns, but also it was like all the stuff that you hate about him. He still did all that stuff.
Oh yeah, he still has buttery man paws
Mm-hmm.
on him. But Jerry, where there are misses like Jaden Daniels and you know so many others, there were some hits. Who was your biggest rookie hit?
My biggest rookie hit. You know, I think it was avoiding running backs as much as I could. I know that's sort of like an abstract answer, but I really didn't like the running back class. Jonathan Brooks was my RB1 for sure, and I would be done with Jonathan Brooks right now if I was you in the leagues that I do. I would take any second for him right this second. So if you are in a league with me and I have Jonathan Brooks and you want him, send me a second. You'll get a snap accept. I am good on that. It was being trepidatious about the class, about the situation. If anything, I think I was most right about Rome Odunze. And I think Rome Odunze is a buy because I do think Caleb Williams is a smart quarterback. He does some absolute dumbassery. Don't get me wrong. But I think he's good. And I think once that offense is competent, I think he's absolutely going to grow into his role. We can see what Keenan Allen is doing at 100 years old. He's still getting tons of targets. He's still catching it. He's old. He's a little larger in the belly than he used to be. Still fine. Once that's Rome Odunze's, I think we're going to be okay. But also knowing that DJ Moore was there, knowing that Keenan Allen was there, knowing that Caleb Williams was a rookie, thinking that Rome Odunze was going to jump in there and just be some elite talent that was nonsensical from the get-go. So I think that was probably my biggest hit, is sort of avoiding him so that I could buy him this time of the year.
Easily agree. This running back class was brutal. I'm using one of our leagues that we're in together. In this league, Trey Benson was the first rookie running back off the board. Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum. Remember when Blake Corum was going to come steal Kyron Williams' job? How'd that work out?
Yeah, he got what did he get? Like 30 carries this year?
It started off really bad, but it reminded me to make sure that we're taking those late swings on running back. Because I'm going to give you this started in the third round. 303 Tyron Tracy, 304 Ray Davis, 305 Bucky Irving, and then a couple other guys that had a game here: Audric Estime, Braylon Allen, Isaac Garindo. You know, I'm going to apply that same wide receiver take that we tried earlier in the show when it comes to rookies. It's like continue to go like wide receiver, and then like I'm gonna like if I had 5 picks, like let's say I have 107, I'm going to take a wide receiver. And then maybe a wide receiver or tight end in the second round. And then running back. Just trying to hit the right dart throw.
Just because a position group exists does not mean we need to take them in the first round. Last year was a perfect example. Like, Jonathan Brooks looks pretty good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think he looked good. But also coming off a torn ACL, going into a tremendously bad team, and Chuba Hubbard wasn't as good as he was this year, but he was still pretty productive at the end of the season before. So you knew he wasn't going to just come in and be awesome. Why are we taking a first-round pick on him? And then we got Trey Benson. Now, I know you can convince yourself that James Conner is going to fall off the face of the earth because he's old, but then you actually think about it and realize that James Conner has never fallen off, and James Conner pushed Le'Veon Bell in his prime to carries. I mean, James Conner is good. So we didn't have to push Trey Benson into the first round either. And then we convinced ourselves, like you said, that Kyron Williams was going to lose carries to Blake Corum. Oh, wait.
And it's going to happen. It's going to happen again this year. So-and-so rookie is going to come in and take people were doing this before he got hurt with Marshawn Lloyd. They were just counting down the days until Marshawn Lloyd started taking carries from Josh Jacobs.
Whoops.
And everybody was everybody was just counting down the days until Jalen Wright started to have an impact on Devon Achane. It's going to happen again this year. So there's a bonus takeaway that I wasn't planning on bringing up. My hit, we'll go out on a positive note, was Bo Nix.
Yeah, it was.
I said he was, and guys, I would be disingenuous if I said I liked Bo Nix, and but I didn't like Jaden Daniels because he was 37 years old. If Jaden Daniels was 37 years old, then Bo Nix was 47 years old, because that guy played like 7 years of college football or something. It was like ridiculous. But what I love was the situation. And it's like, no wide receivers don't care. I believe in Sean Payton. Last year, Russell Wilson finished as QB9, or was QB9 whenever he got benched at the. That's where Bo Nix finished. QB9. And Jerry, if you would have drafted Bo Nix last year in the startup, was he a QB3 or QB4?
I mean, something in there.
QB 25 through 40, something.
Yeah.
In startups post rookie draft last year. And all he did was give you a QB1 season. This is why I think you can wait for quarterback in this year, because it's not going anywhere. Points per game. Again, it's one season. But do I still get to keep Sean Payton? Yes. Do I get a perceived improvement at the wide receiver and skill positions? God, I hope so. So there's no reason why Bo Nix shouldn't be able to do it. From a points per game perspective, okay? So I already told you Bo Nix finished as QB 9 on the season, points per game basis. Who scored more points? Bo Nix or Patrick Mahomes?
I mean, you're setting me up for Bo Nix, but my brain says Patty.
It's Bo Nix by like a few basis points. I mean, it's barely anything. But and in fairness to both guys played every game. I don't think you're going to get Patrick playing this weekend. But like Tua Tagovailoa scored 1.2 points less than Bo Nix. Justin Herbert almost 2 points less than Bo Nix. Situation matters. If there's here's a big takeaway, not only from a
hey, you want to speaking of Tua and Bo Nix, if we circle back on that trade that I did in one of my leagues like 8 months ago, and you fucking bodied me and said that you'd rather have Bo Nix straight up for Tua, good on you, buddy.
I mean, he's got.
No, I didn't even play either of them because I played Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow, but
he's got itty bitty gypsy hands. I mean, he's got dainty man hands, and he like Tua would be better in the West, right? He would be better in the West playing in like Arizona, because he would play indoors. He would play on the West Coast. I mean, to have to go to New York, Buffalo, New England, that is not an ideal situation for a guy who does not do well in cold environments. We're coming up toward the end of the show. I do want to throw out a take that you're going to hear a lot, but we're going to give it to you first. Are you ready?
Shoot.
you're going to hear this a lot, and I already kind of believe it and see it, because I do believe the Bears get a offensive coordinator upgrade, and I don't think they'll re-sign Keenan Allen. I think Roma Dunze is going to be next year's JSN. I think that's going to be a very popular hot take starting February-ish. You might hear you'll hear it a lot in the summer. You know, the people that don't grind the dynasty, the world the way that we do, and already think about the things the way that Jerry and I do, they're not to this point yet. They've not done the work yet. It's okay. They'll get there. They're on their pace. They're lollygagging and pussyfooting along, and Jerry and I are out here getting after it. I think you're going to hear a lot of Roma Dunze is going to be next year's JSN, because JSN, not a good rookie season. I've switched over on my pages on my research monitor, but I think he was like wide receiver 7.
Killed it. Dude,
Breakout,
absolutely surpassed DK Metcalf.
And he did it with Tyler Lockett still there. I think DJ Moore will always be a focal point, but there's some chemistry there. And I think if the Bears, if you were to hit their GM Ryan Poles with some true serum and ask him would he had rather have taken Fashanu or one of the other tackles that went after the Roma Dunze pick, he would probably say, yes, we should have gotten a tackle. But I loved Roma Dunze. I think he's going to be a huge star. I think he's a huge go-get. If you believe in what we're saying, and you know, price is only going to go up, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm with you. Big near the tippy top of my list of people that I will be going after. It'll be him, and it'll be Anthony Richardson. And it's not because I love Anthony Richardson. I actually do like Roma Dunze and think he's good. I'm just going after Anthony Richardson because everybody hates him and he'll be cheap. And if I can just hold on to him like it's 1998 and I have layaway at Kmart, then, you know, maybe I can get a little return on it.
Well, let's end it on this. You know, we talk about being ahead of things. I mean, Jerry and I just love the game. And do you remember, like maybe 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, I said that this quarterback class is so bad that if I were the GM of the Raiders or the Giants, I'm on the phone with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and I'm like, hey, man, what do you want for J.J. McCarthy? Because I don't want Quinn Ewers. I don't want Cam Ward. I don't want any Carson Beck. It's Shador or bust. And now I heard that on ESPN today, Jerry. It's like, welcome to November, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and here's the thing. As we get closer to this draft, there will be 4 quarterbacks that people are going to talk about in the first round of your Superflex drafts. Because last year there went, what we have 5 in the first round?
Yes.
So,
and there might
so
be
100% we'll see it.
The difference is that there's not a Jaden Daniels in this class.
Right.
There's not, I don't think, I mean,
maybe you say that, but people will convince themselves Cam Ward is him.
You know what? If you draft Cam Ward, then you're hoping for the Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen type career trajectory, and pray to God you don't get the Anthony Richardson career trajectory or the Justin Fields. I think a more apt comparison to Cam Ward's more of a Justin Fields. I want to see it with some big boy football. Nothing against Miami. It's Power 5, super duper neato. I do want to shout out the Culture Watch in the chat. In all cap, Keon Coleman, yeah, he could take a step. He could take a step. He's
got to take a step though, because if he doesn't, he's going to fall off the face of the earth.
I'm telling you, the GM in Buffalo's got problems if Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman don't take a big step.
Yeah,
because you can't keep putting all of your eggs in the offensive side of the basket and expect Josh Allen to continue to work miracles. We'll save the controversial, awards and debates for next week. I was going to ask you MVP, Lamar, Josh Allen, but I'm looking at the clock and we are right up against it. Just a couple of things, last few minutes of housekeeping. We have 19 patron leagues, and Jerry, I've already paid out half of the first and second place winners in a day and a half without our admin Neil.
Who's the one who normally does all the payouts? And
No. I actually told this to, I think it was Brett, in like, as I was paying people out today, it's like, I'm very trustworthy with the money. We've been doing this for 5 years. Everybody always gets their money. That's not a problem with me. I was like, I can't be counted on to do the admin work of making sure, okay, you're paid for this league, and because when we're paying out, we just go ahead and collect for 2025. It saves a transaction.
Yeah.
Hey, how much did you win? How many leagues are you in? Okay, here's a number. Boom, done. But without Neil here, Neil, our admin, went back home to Scotland and the greater Europe area, and he's on his way back to Australia now. But patron leagues, the reason why I bring that up is we're going to have orphans. We always do. And we give those to new patrons at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Jerry, there are 40 winners between first and second place, because we have one weird soccer themed. It's still fantasy football, but it's like a relegation league, and you move up, you move down. It's very unique. It's a fun league. So that 4 people get paid, but there's 40 people, and I'm already through 20, and I feel pretty good about that in 36 hours. You'd be surprised how hard it is to hunt down people to give them money. It's the damnedest thing in the entire world. It is like, you'll send someone a DM and you'll be left on red for a hot minute, but that's okay. You know what? I can at least rest my head knowing that I've done my part. So if you're interested in really fun leagues, and it's $5 a month. So if you're a patron, you're like, well, I'm getting a value. I'm getting 2 months worth of patron value because we don't play we have a couple of more expensive ones, but it's not like crazy expensive. It's a great way if you're new to Dynasty or just want to get in a couple of extra leagues and be in an amazing group chat. And Jerry and I are getting ready to go record our patron podcast right after this podcast, exclusive, and you get this show early and ad-free, all for $5 a month. It helps with the streaming service. It helps with the admin cost of the leagues and blah, blah, blah. No one's getting rich off Patreon. But if you want to join us, support the show, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Jerry, let's get out of here. The man versus machine guys look like they're going, and we better get going.
Cool. Go Lions.
Let's do another one. God, I can't pick that. We'll be debating this next Wednesday. But until then, thank you all. The numbers of the people watching, very impressive. We're very grateful. But until next time, thanks for tuning in, and you guys have a good week.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.